Why do divers wear Speedos? Well, there's a few different reasons. Firstly, they're tight and they hold everything in place when you're spinning and twisting around in the air, which is kind of important. And they don't soak up much water, which means you can stay light, fast, and move freely without restriction. Now, one time, I forgot all my Speedos and had to wear board shorts to training, and my coach literally laughed at me. And the reason is they're heavy, they're clunky, and they made me feel like I was diving in a parachute. And when you're spinning and flipping around the air, you really need that freedom of movement, and board shorts just don't cut it. That being said, even Speedos can't save me from silly mistakes like this one, where I literally nearly fell off the board and somehow just landed that dive. But Speedos make a big difference, and honestly, these Diving Australia ones I've been putting on recently are some of my favourite, and you always know if someone's a new diver by if they come wearing board shorts, because Speedos what all the professionals wear. At least that's what I tell myself. Today I showed up to training in board shorts and my coach was not impressed. Now I left my whole diving bag in the Gold Coast, so I have nothing. No Speedos, no chamois, and I had to use the crustiest bit of ITAC I found at the pool to try and get through the session. And when my coach saw me in my board shorts, he was not impressed. He actually said, "Are you going to be diving in that?" And I was like, "Well, I have nothing else." He was like, "Okay, well, good luck." Now I got in the end of the board and I felt like kind of a flop. I'm so used to diving in Speedos because they're very tight and compact. They keep everything in place when you're spinning around the air. Where board shorts a bit more loose and they retain so much water, it's distracting. I did a few flops on the board as well, which didn't add to the whole situation. It's a whole diving culture to wear Speedos, so everyone at the pool was kind of laughing at me, but I was able to kind of get through my session, so mission success. As a diver, the swimmers you wear are important. You gotta look good, and today I got some brand new ones. A classic red pair, very simple and blue. I like how plain and chill these ones are, but I had to throw on the rainbow ones for today's session. If I'm gonna train, gotta train style, and if I'm gonna flop, at least I'm gonna look good doing it. Now I sent some hard dives just to make sure they were up for the challenge, and I can confirm they are good to go. Now I have been progressing in the pool today. I sent some reverse doubles. Safe to say it's not exactly a textbook, but it's a work in progress, and the rest I did was so good I feel very confident doing 2.5 next week, which is the next step forward. Now I fell off the board on my inward when I was setting up, biggest L I've copped in a while, like who even does that? My next inward 2.5s were pretty decent. I am launching myself halfway across the other side of the pool, so need to travel less, but I was also able to progress on my back doing some doubles. Everything's going forward, and the best part is my back injury is handling everything extremely well. When I was a kid, my swimmers came off because I didn't do my drawstring up tight enough. So now I do it extremely tight to make sure that never happens again. Now my first dive of the day was a bit dodgy, nearly fell off the board. After that, I was able to get things moving and I feel like I'm jumping high, spinning fast, and feeling really strong. Now sometimes they use the diving pool to do these safety drills. This is like a practice of when a helicopter crashes and everyone's got to get out safely. They make them do it like 10 times and it's quite good entertainment when you're training to glance over and see how they're going. Now, it's good to catch up with the team in between dives. You can have a good chat. Although Brittany tried to ruin this shot for me. Thanks, Britt. Luckily, I had another one, so I could get this nice reverse 1.5. And everyone else is getting ready for nationals, but I won't be ready in time. So I'm just building back my basics slowly, and my back's been going really well with it. How do I not get water up my nose when I'm diving? Now, this is a comment I've seen recently, and I've never thought about it until you guys said something. So I took note today, and when I do hit the water, I subconsciously breathe out. But also, when you're going head first, your nose is facing up, away from the water, so it's not really an issue. I did embarrass myself today. Tried to wave to my friend, and he didn't see me, which is kind of awkward. Luckily, I tried again, and he saw me, so I got my street cred back. But going feet first is when you tend to get water up your nose. So you got to think twice as hard about breathing out before you hit the water. I also got to practice my favorite thing today, not getting frustrated when I was balking on the board. Really annoying. I don't know why, but some days diving is just more difficult than others, and today was quite challenging. But as a whole, my back's feeling really good, I'm feeling strong, and I am enjoying training, even though it can be a little bit frustrating at times. Why do divers get out of the water, grab our chamois to dry off before diving straight back in? Now, it's a fair question, and it's a comment I get all the time. Now, the reason is, when we are spinning around the air, we got to get into these really tight positions. And when we're doing multiple flips, there's a lot of forces going on your body, and you need to be able to hold tight. And when you're wet, you could possibly slip out. So you've got to squeeze tight and be dry so you can get a proper grip. That way, no matter what dive you're doing, you give yourself the best chance of successfully completing it without doing something stupid like slipping out. Now, the type of chamois we use are like car chamois, and the reason we use that over a towel is you can wring it out like 100 times and it will dry nearly instantly, where with a towel it goes all damp and then you got to hang it out at home, where with a chamois you don't need to do that. Do I get scared of hitting the diving board? I see this comment all the time, and I've definitely had a few battle wounds over the years. I've hit my hands, I've got scars from, I've hit my knees many times in many different places, unfortunately, and once I even smacked my head. Now, that time I was really lucky. My shoulder hit first and then my head, and for a while I tried to keep this video private, but I gave it to Brit and she passed it to the Americans and they started making memes about it, like this basketball one, but honestly, these days I find it funny. But when you do hit the diving board, it does knock your confidence a bit, and it's something you just gotta push through. That being said, I'm not fearful in training. We build up to difficult dives slowly and only do what our coach says we're ready for. Mistakes still happen, but after years of training and making plenty of mistakes in the pool, I'm basically an expert. You learn how to avert most crises, and with technique and strength, you can typically pull it off. There's only one shower on pool deck, and it runs out of hot water faster than I run out of breath mid-dive. It starts off warm and steamy, and then bam, Arctic mode in like 10 minutes. And then sometimes it warms back up later in the session, but by then, I've accepted my fate. Now the spa, it's just closed half the time for some reason, but when it's open, it's luxury. It's like a VIP shower with bubbles, and I reckon I end most of my sessions in there when it is open, and when it's not, it's just kind of sad. Does hitting the board on the water affect my dives? Now, it's actually called dunking the board, and as a tall diver, I dunk it every time I jump off 1 meter. And as a kid, I used to think dunking the board was like the coolest thing, like the ultimate flex, but now it's just part of training. Now, I still dunk it a little bit on 1 meter, but it doesn't go too far underwater. If it does go too deep, it can steal your bounce, and honestly, I'm so focused on my dive, I barely even notice it. But on the half-meter board, which is made for kids to learn to dive, when I jump on that, it basically disappears underwater and you lose all your bounce, and it makes diving basically impossible. But me and my mates used to send stuff off there for fun. Absolute chaos. Now, up on the 3-meter board, it's impossible to actually dunk it unless the board snaps in half and falls in the water, and I have actually seen that before, which is crazy. Now, standing takeoffs, even on 1 meter, I typically never dunk the board. Possibly because I don't jump high enough, because my technique isn't that great. It still needs to get a fair bit better. But every good session ends with a great spa. You can dunk yourself in the spa. That's all good. Why do divers use this beeswax stuff that smells really good when we train? Now, we take about a 5-cent piece size and put it on our hands, our arms, and our legs. And it's not super important for the easy dives, but when you're doing multiple flips in the air, it gives you extra grip. So you dry yourself, and on top of the beeswax, there's nearly no chance you can slip out. But you can still make stupid mistakes like this one, where I came out way too early. I hadn't done this dive in ages, and I completely butchered it. But after I reconcentrated and dried off my legs, I sent another one, and if I do say so myself, I think it was pretty good. Now, what is tricky is when you are diving, you have a TV that shows you a replay, and when you're trying to watch you dive and hear your coach's feedback, you're like trying to do both at the same time. It's a bit awkward, but the iTac also gives you a bit of reassurance. I always know my hair's getting a little bit too long when it starts hitting me in the eyes in the air. Now, I normally just slick it back, but once I can't do that anymore, I've got to think about getting a haircut. Now, recently, I've been doing more dives in the pool and spending more time in the water, and honestly, it feels great. It took me so long just to get to this point, to be able to dive with pain-free. Now, sometimes I feel like I'm making huge progress, and then I remember, and it kind of hits me that there's still such a long road ahead. Being back in the water really is just the beginning, although every day, no matter how small, I push to get back to form so soon I can get back to competing. Did you know my tuck position will change based on how hard the dive is? For example, when I'm doing a front 2.5, I have my knees close together because it's easier to control the dive when I'm going slowly when my knees are close. But when I'm sending a harder dive like a front 3.5 and I have to give it everything, I split my legs. We call this a split tuck, and it allows you to get in smaller, bring that rotation tighter, and get those flips around. Now, the same thing happens when I'm doing reverse. On the easier dives, I have my knees together because it's easier to control on basics. But on the 2.5, when I've got to really go for it, we split the legs, get those flips in quicker, because the quicker you get the flips done, the quicker you can come out and look for the water. Over the last couple of months, I've been slowly building back my pike flexibility. Now, when I first injured my back, I couldn't do anything pike. Every time I tried, I had a sharp pain in my lower back that then shot down my legs. But earlier in the week, I managed to do some pike dives pretty much pain-free which was huge. So today I'm pushing it further and attempting a front 1.5. Now this puts serious strain on my pike position in the air, and I haven't been able to do this pain-free since my injury. In the first one, it felt great. I couldn't believe it. So I did a few more. They're still basic dives, but even compared to where I was a few weeks ago, it's a massive step forward. Now, after training, the physio gets me to do this thing called a slump test that puts my discs under maximum stress. And I still get like a 2 out of 10 doing this test, but I can pretty much train pain-free, which is huge. So happy with it. My chamois is broken. Now, I'm not surprised because I dry quite aggressively in between my dives at training. Now, the reason we need to dry is because when we're spinning around the air, if you're wet, you could slip out of the dive. But this chamois has lasted me 2 years, which is great. Normally, my chamois last about 6 to 8 months, so I've had a really good run with this chamois, but it's time for a new one. I've ordered 2 new chamois, and I'll show you them when I get them. I haven't done a single pike dive since I injured my back, and it's been the biggest barrier to overcome in the pool because pike strains my nerves the most. It's way more intense on my back than any of the tuck dives, but today I'm going to give it a go. I started warming up with a few tuck dives, and then I did a few controlled pike movements to see how my back would respond, and it felt okay. I was a little bit nervous to send my first pike dive, which sounds so funny, but the dive was okay itself. My back didn't hurt too much. Bit dodgy in me technique, but it's still early days. Right now, I'm only doing basic dives. Eventually, I need to aggressively throw into tight pike positions and do multiple flips, but I just got to build it back gradually. By the end of it, my back felt like a good 2 out of 10 sore, so nothing major, and a bit of pain is okay to keep progressing forward in the pool. I rolled my ankle the other night, and I'm about to find out if it's going to affect my training. I did it falling over a pipe. Complete L, lost all the points, and left with a super sore ankle. Now, the next day, it already felt a little bit better, and over the weekend, I rested it well and looked after it. When I got in the pool today, I started with a few jumps on the end of the board, and then did my first dive, and it was feeling good, which was a massive relief. The last thing I needed was some other injury affecting my training again. The night I rolled my ankle, I was so frustrated thinking about how it could affect my diving. If you're an athlete, you know exactly how that feels. I finished all my hurdles, and the next challenge was to see if I could do my standing dives. Now, these require a lot of strength and ankle stability, so if I can do these, I should be fine. Now, I did a fair few today. They felt good, and I'm so relieved my ankle is okay. Last night, I rolled my ankle on this pipe. It was pitch black. I was trying to get back in the car, and I didn't even see it, but it swelled up right away and was really sore to walk on. I'm kind of worried it's going to take me out of the diving pool again. So this morning, I got out the game ready at training. Basically, this machine pumps freezing cold water around an injury while it inflates this compressive sleeve. It's like if an ice bath and a blood pressure cuff had a baby together. It took us like 5 minutes just to get it working. Classic charger issues, but between the ice and the compression, this thing is elite for recovery. It targets the pain exactly where it hurts, and I haven't had an injury aside from my back in so long. It kind of felt weird to be sore somewhere else, but I'm a little bit concerned it's going to take me back out of the pool. But I'll be back diving on Monday, so hopefully it's fine. I haven't competed in diving for over a year, which is wild. Normally I'm traveling around the world, diving all year round, and then taking a break after major events. But this year, no major events, just slow, steady training. Coming back from an injury is an absolute grind. Diving takes so long to rebuild your dives. You can't just send it because there's so much technique that goes into it. It takes a long time to rewire your dives bit by bit. And now I'm in the thick of it, slowly pushing through, trying to get my big dives back, but it's not glamorous. It's not easy, and I'm sending it every day to try to be back out there competing. It looks like that'll be in November. These are my most effective ab exercise. Now, I always throw a mat down, bit of comfort before the pain. I do 30 reps in all 4 sides, front, back, left, and right, 120 reps per set, and yes, my soul leaves my body about halfway through. If you can't tell from my facial expressions, these really take a toll, but I love it. The pain is important. The pain is part of the process. Now, I train abs mostly because they look good. Side effect, they really help my diving, but after each set, I feel like I've been flashbanged. Takes me a few seconds just to gather my thoughts and recover before heading down for the next set. I rested all weekend so I can hit the pool hard this week at training. Started off my session on dry board, practicing my back jumps because they need a lot of work. I might have to do these every day. I then got straight into the pool for my sends, kicking off the session strong with some good front 2.5 tucks, and then sending my front 3.5 tucks. And I've been working on tightening my form and really nailing those entries. Now lately, my reverse dives have been really inconsistent, which is frustrating, and you can usually tell what I think about a dive by my face when I'm watching the replay. And on that dive, I think my eyes were assaulted. Everything happens so fast in the air, you've just got to lock in and make the change so you don't make the same mistake over and over. It's much easier said than done. The next few were a lot better, but diving, constant battle for consistency. How do divers control our every movement in the air? It comes down to precision, right down to the individual muscle, because everything happens so fast. There's no time to think. You've just got to get it right in the moment. That's why we drill down technique over and over in dry land and in the pool, so it all becomes second nature to where you don't even have to think about it. We also train a whole bunch of abs, mainly for the good looks, but it's also great for diving because it helps us control rotation, tension, and get good entries through the water. No core, no control, and in diving, control is everything. This is the 1/2 meter diving board. I can't even jump on it without hitting the water. It's a little bit dodgy, but my coach gets me to practice my inward takeoffs here, and the first one was shocking. I completely missed my hands, landed flat in my face, everything was wrong. But the reason I do this drill is because it's so much lower, it forces my technique to get better, because if it doesn't, I simply won't make the dive off this board. So when I go back to 1 meter, theoretically, the inward 2.5 should be a little bit easier. I've been struggling with this dive, and the first one absolutely sucked. For a second, I questioned the method of the 1/2 meter, but I stayed with it, made some good changes, and the next few were a lot better. You gotta hang in there. Diving can be a very slow process. Why do divers always jump from 1 foot, then onto 2 before sending out dives? Now, the reason is, in diving, you must take your final step from 1 foot and then jump off the board using 2 feet together. It's part of the diving rule book, but in training, sometimes we just bounce on the end using 2 feet. We call this bouncing. Now, it's designed to make dives easier by removing the skill of the hurdle. So in theory, it should be a much simpler takeoff, but sometimes in training, my bouncing sucks too. And it is so frustrating. And at that point, I really consider whether diving is the right sport for me. But at the moment, while I'm building back, I've just got to push through all those challenges day in and day out. I'm looking forward to competing again later this year, hopefully in November. Did you know every Friday there is something that makes me laugh at training, and that is when my good mate Chris Bedner comes in and gets straight into the pool with a challenging dive. Today he's on springboard. He doesn't even train springboard anymore, and he's sending an inward 2.5 pike. You can see his hair is completely dry. He has not warmed up, and somehow he still makes the dive completely fine. Now I'm training simple dives on 3 meter, which are great drills when you don't fall off the board, like that one. Now, although I'm not doing my big dives up there yet, it's really important to keep training the basics so I mentally and physically get used to sending it off 3 meter, so when I do get my competition dives back, I already feel comfortable being up there. My next competition should be later this year in November, so at the moment I'm working hard on getting my dives back, sharpening them up, and competing later this year. Did you know this is actually a good dive? In training, we do a whole bunch of different drills. Some in dry land, where we practice our takeoffs on the board. When Brit's not distracting me, spraying water at me when I'm trying to concentrate. Other drills we do in the pool, like this reverse triple, which is doing 3 somersaults, moving forward but rotating back towards the board, landing on our feet. Now we do this drill to then add another half a somersault, making it reverse 3.5, because going head first is what's important. So these feet first dives, like triples, we just use to practice the takeoff and the aerial work, which is why a triple going over is a good thing. It means when we go to 3 meter to do the reverse 3.5, it should be easy, which is super technical dive. That's a hard one. Now this reverse 2.5, the same thing doesn't apply. It was just a bad dive. I had to lock in to try to cook the next one, and it turned out okay. Am I scared of deep water? Now this is a comment that I've randomly gotten on a whole bunch of my diving videos, and the diving pool is 5 meters deep, and honestly, I love it. The deep water actually makes the diving way more safe, and it makes me more confident when I'm in the pool. Diving in a shallow pool is actually kind of scary, but I have got my scuba license and I'm totally fine diving out in the ocean when I can see the ocean floor. But when I'm out deep and I cannot see the bottom of the ocean and I don't know how deep I am, I don't particularly like that. There's like an eerie feeling when you don't know how deep it is. That kind of freaks me out. Why do I look so serious when I'm training? It's not that I hate it. In fact, I actually love diving, and sometimes I'm cracking up with my mates in between reps. Like today, Chris used to do this dive called a full out to get in the pool 4 years ago. He hasn't touched it since, so I dared him to send it. And after he balked on the first attempt, he actually went for it, and honestly, not too bad, considering he had not done this dive in 4 years. I was impressed. Now, why do I look so serious most of the time? Well, it's because diving takes 100% of my focus every single dive. Sometimes I give it 110% focus and still cook the dive. So you got to be absolutely locked in because you only have 1.5 seconds in the air to get everything right. So I enjoy that feeling of giving my full focus to a task and just locking in and just giving it everything I got for each training session. But trust me, we do get a laugh in behind the scenes in between reps. Did you know some divers visualize when training and competing? Because diving is such a mental sport, half the battle is done before you even get on the board. So when you see the dive in your head, every twist, tuck and turn, it's way easier to then actually do it in real life. And I pair my visualization with hand movements and signals. Because our coaches use them to communicate, it's basically hardwired into my brain. So when I see a signal, my body knows exactly what to do. So some of the best competitions I've ever done, it's honestly felt like deja vu, like I've already played out the whole comp in my head. Unfortunately, visualization could not save me on this reverse triple. I sent it way over, which honestly isn't the worst thing in the world. I'm building up to 3.5s, so the fact the triple's going over is more of a good thing, but it feels good to be throwing triples again. Those dives that I need to send hard are the ones I find the most fun, so training's been tracking really well. I didn't really want to dive today. I've been struggling with fatigue since I had the spicy cough last week, and I'm not sick anymore, but that fatigue has been hanging around hard. And Diving Australia gave us these brand new swimmers. They've got this awesome indigenous design in green and gold, and I absolutely love them. Feel like I had to show up and do them justice, but the truth is, even as athletes, we struggle. We get really good at hiding it though. From the outside, it might look like I'm completely fine, but inside, it's a massive physical battle. Every dive today took real effort to climb on the board, gather my thoughts, and send it. Training is hard enough when you're 100%, but when you're recovering from something like this, it is next level difficult. I've been doing double sessions most days and needing to nap throughout the day just to survive them, which is frustrating because I'm the kind of person who loves being productive throughout the day, getting lots of things done, but I'm learning to prioritize my recovery. At the moment, just showing up and getting through training is a real win. How do divers learn new dives? The simple answer is you just gotta send it, which is why I'm dropping my new shirt, which is now available only for limited first release. Now, warming up today, I nearly launched myself onto the side of the pool. My coach didn't say much, but the concern in his eyes really said it all. Now, in diving, every new skill comes with that moment where you just have to fully commit and send it. Whether it's your first front 1.5 or leveling up to a front 3.5, there's always that leap from preparation to the real deal. Something I had to send today was my reverse triple, a skill I haven't done in over 7 months since I injured my back, and the first few were a little bit dodgy. I was hoping they would be better, but half the time, that's what sending it is, just having a full crack. I'm still recovering from being sick a week ago, so was quite fatigued. But if you're a sender and you're keen to be part of the community, please consider grabbing a shirt. They're made from organic material and the packaging is biodegradable, so you'll feel great wearing it. Do you know why there's always little bubbles underneath the diving boards at training? And these bubbles or sprays are across most diving pools all around the world, and they're crucial for knowing where you are in the air. Now, what do? They break the surface tension of the water so you can see exactly how far away you are from it. And diving's such a precision sport, even a slight mistake in judgment of where you are in relation to the water can be very costly. You can see the difference here. The bubbles breaking the surface tension under the board versus further away where the surface tension isn't broken. It's really difficult to gauge how far away you are from it. Now, the pool was so cold today. For some reason, the door was broken and stuck open, and it's currently midwinter here in Australia, and they had this freezing cold breeze just blowing through. So during training, had to hit the spa a few times just to stay warm. This winter in Australia has been so cold. I came back to training today after 4 days off sick. Now, I'm feeling much better, but that fatigue has been hanging around and it hit me hard. There's just another hurdle in the way I've got to get over, and today I had to take a few steps back in the pool and do much more basic dives, and even they seem difficult, which is scary. I felt a little off in the air, made a mistake on a simple dive, so I had to lock in and try and correct it on the next one, which I was able to do, but then the cycle continues, one good, one bad, and the battle goes on, because the following one, boom, I messed it up once again. And the training grind, it's not just physically challenging, but mentally challenging as well. You got to be switched on the whole time to just lock in and try and build consistency. I moved on to my next dive, the reverse 1.5, and the first one was pretty good. I thought, you know what, maybe the 1.5s will be better, but the next one, nah, dodgy once again. It's frustrating, but you got to keep pushing through. Setbacks from sickness, they're just part of it. I don't love it, but really, you don't have a choice. You just got to start with what you got and push from there. For now, it's a bit of a grind, but I know either next week or the week after, I'll be glad I pushed through. Why do divers use TVs in training? Now, diving is such a mental sport, and watching your dives back is a key way to improve. So after each dive, I get out, listen to my coach's feedback, think about how the dive felt before jumping in the shower. Once it actually warms up, it's winter and it's been brutal, before watching the TV, which is right across from the shower, with a replay of my dive while trying to defrost. Now, it runs on about a 30-second delay, just enough time to get out of the water, hear your coach, and watch it for yourself. Now, I can usually spot the mistake, but knowing what went wrong and fixing it are two very different things. But training is a constant pursuit of progress. I'm always trying to chase that next level of precision and consistency, and the TVs help us do that. I got brand new Nswift Swimmers today, and we're about to see how they go. Now, when the pool is freezing cold like it was today, I procrastinate getting in by chatting to my mates, but the first thing I notice, the new swimmers are super tight, but that's a good thing. You want them to be strong, to hold everything locked in place when you're diving, but once they get wet and stretch a little bit, they mold perfectly. Now, I gave it the flip test, sending my front 3.5, and they actually feel great in the air. I still remember getting my first pair of Nswift Swimmers, and it felt like I'd earned a badge of honor, that feeling of being part of something bigger. But I came into training today feeling good, but my dives were just a bit off. Reverse was an absolute grind, and sometimes you lock in, push hard, and things just don't click, but you just got to keep persisting through. You do what you can, and you do the best you can. Now, I know I look very serious at training, but that's just my focus face, and I actually love this space where I can fully concentrate and just see how far I can push myself. But even focus couldn't help me on inward. I missed my ham, slapping my face on the water, an absolute rookie error, but I was able to finish on a good one. It wasn't my best session, but I did my best, and that's all you can do. Why do divers need to have strong abs? Now, when I get to the pool, I do like a 30 to 40 minute warm up, mostly consisting of ab exercises. Now, we need them for control on the board from everything. Just to jump straight, you need your core to be strong, or to come out of a dive. When you do a flip, so your legs don't go flying in the wrong direction, you need to use your core to control them to be extremely precise. Now, when you do multiple flips, things need to be so quick, and you can't afford to make a mistake, and you get all of that control really from your core, especially on a hurdle approach. When you're jumping off one leg, there's so much instability. You use your abs to control it to go straight. Also, if you make a mistake, they like protect your lower back from getting too injured. Well, they're meant to. My back is recovering well. So abs we need for every single dive and every movement in the air. How do divers see where we are when we're spinning around in the air? Now, it's called spotting. And take a basic dive. On a forward dive, it's so easy because you look at the water the whole time. You literally just tuck, line the entry up, and you're good to go. You never take your eyes off it. But when you start taking flips into the equation, it gets a little bit more confusing because you do one flip, then you come out, look for the water, and line up the dive. Now, when you do multiple flips, it just goes so much faster, and you got to count. You go 1, 2, and look for the water. Now, on this front 3.5, I was meant to count and look, but I just came out when I felt like it and completely butchered it. I did the exact same thing last week, so you'd think I would have learnt, but apparently not. Now, on the next one, I made sure to concentrate and count. 1, 2, 3, and kick, using my eyes to see the water, and these two were a lot more consistent. So when you rely on what you see, your dives are a lot better. Now, on reverse, it's a slightly different game because you see the water, kick to the roof, and then look back for the water once again. Now, you can see it here, kicking to the roof, and then looking for the water. These ones are a little bit more scary, and when you do multiple flips, it's so important to see where you are to make sure you land up vertical towards the water so you can kick at your toes and then look back for the water. When you do a double, you can really see me count. I go 1 and then 2 as I come around. And when you're doing 2.5s, to make the dives consistent, it's really important you can see clearly where you are in the air.